2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Today's show is brought to you by Troubled Monk, Drycation Vacation Lager.
Not actually, they're not a physical sponsor of the show, so we can still say that. We don't have to put a sponsored by on any of our posts.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, definitely not.
No.
We're live today from Calgary, Alberta,
Yes,
freezing
sir.
our asses off at Action Furnace. We got our guest, Ryan Tutak. He's general manager, co-owner, partner here at Action Furnace.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks for coming on. It's going to be a fun show. I'm excited for it. I know when we met in Vegas at Profit Rocket, who happens to be one of the sponsors of the show, had a great conversation. We're like, all right, we got to get this guy on the show, and we're going to do it live because, well, we're all Alberta based. So
Exactly. Well, appreciate you guys coming in the office today. Evan coming from Edmonton, and Thaddeus all the way from Okotoks.
I know, long drive, 32,
nice to have you guys.
32 minutes on, according to Google.
Perfect.
I think we did it a little quicker.
A little quicker.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sponsors,
Yeah.
all
Gotta
right.
make sure we recognize people who make the show possible.
I got to put their banner back up so we can actually see it. So there we go. Chiirp, Sera, Profit Rocket, On Purpose Media. Let's go in reverse order today.
All right. Profit Rocket. Do you know Victor Rancour and what he's done in the last 4 years? It's been quite tremendous to see him grow his business from 0 to 40 million. He's crushing it down in the SoCo market. And if you want to know everything that he's done to grow his business in terms of SOPs, in terms of call scripts, job call tracking? I don't have the actual readout in front of me because my computer died, so my bad. But if you want to know everything that he's done to crush his business, go to check out callprofitrocket.com. Check out the business blueprint. Everything that he has ever created for his business is in there. He provides, it's an open book. It's really great. You got to go check it out. He's also got his event coming up, the whiteboard party, which is coming up in April. So make sure you go check that out as well under the events section on the page, callprofitrocket.com.
I like how you kept looking at me for confirmation on that, and I have no clue, and I'm operating at about 70% today. So one of those days. All right. In the middle, we have Sera Systems, and if you're unfamiliar with Sera Systems, they are a field management software that really allows you to remain profitable in doing your business. One thing I really like about it is job time efficiency, real-time job time efficiency. Plus, their dynamic dispatching with their online booking tool is phenomenal. Users that join Sera have an average revenue increase of 52% within the first 6 months, with the icing on the cake being, hey, they also double those profits. So if you want to get on a demo with them, sales.sera.tech/HVAC-revealed to check that one out. The other one is Chiirp, and Chiirp is an ultimate automation toolbox. It actually lends its hand to the other two sponsors that we have because it's really the front end part of the marketing, and it has direct integrations with, Service Titan, House Call Pro, Jobber, Sera. So things like drop down menus, automated text messages, automated emails, ringless voicemails, even direct mail integrations, rehash programs is a big one, and also automating the Google reviews. So check it out. The link that we have up on there, it's a long one. I'm not going to say it. It'll be in our show notes, but you can get 25% off your first 3 months when you use that link below. It's also an affiliate link. All right. That's that.
Giddy up.
Pleasantries out of the way.
Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about the journey that you took to get into the position that you're at now? Because you worked your ass off to get to this spot.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, I didn't ever see myself in the HVAC trade. I didn't even know there was an HVAC trade coming out of university. I graduated with a degree in recreation and leisure studies, which would lend its hand to running a YMCA or a activity program for kids at your local, your local Boy Scout program. Exactly. I did some traveling. I had a friend that was working at Action Furnace when they were about 12 or 14 people. He called another friend I went to university with and said, look, we need a sales guy. And he came out here for a year. I kind of followed in his path. I went and traveled to Australia and then got a call saying, we need another sales guy. Didn't know anything about it. I said, dude, I don't know anything about furnaces. I don't know anything about air conditioning, but I got nothing better going on. So when I fly home from New Zealand, I'm going to get in my car and drive across the country and give this a try. Little did I know, I thought I had the job wrapped up until I got to the office and it was an interview. So I'd made this commitment to leave New Zealand all the way to Calgary. And there was an interview that was taking place that I thought was my orientation day. So luckily I killed it in the interview, got the job and became a comfort advisor. Didn't know anything. Training at Action Furnace during that time was limited. I kind of just followed in the footsteps of my friend that's been here a year. And really it was a slow journey at the start. It was, I didn't really understand sales. I didn't take it truly as a career and see the opportunity that was in front of me until about 2 years in. I really struggled with what am I doing here? Right. I even went as far as to print off an application for a Calgary police service job at one point, thinking, you know what, that might be something. I heard they're hiring. I'm not good at this. And then at that point, I actually moved to Vancouver. And in Vancouver, I met a selling tech at a company I went to work for there. And the guy changed my life. How he turned off the switch from technician to sales professional, how serious he took his career really changed. The company itself wasn't where I wanted to be. I also didn't like that it rained for the 3 months that I was there. That kind of got me depressed. And I called up one of my business partners now, Bruce, and said, I need to come back. I hopped on a plane. I left my car in Vancouver, rented a car at the airport, lived out of my car for about a week, running around selling furnaces. And about 3 months later, I had been doing really well. And Bruce said, maybe you should manage the sales team. From there, it was, I know Bruce and our other owner, Gaius, kind of just kept handing things off. Maybe you should manage the service team. Maybe you should manage the maintenance team. Maybe you should train everybody. And at that point, it was, maybe you should manage the whole company. And that's when I became a partner in 2017 with them. And then from there, we've just grown our team. I think when I joined as a partner in 2017, we were 75 or 80 people. We're now over 240. Our revenues have tripled since that day. There was just a lot of things that we didn't have leadership. We didn't have strong management, but we knew we had the right people. It just needed to be put in place. So it was, that's my journey to where we are today. Really, it came with lots of long nights looking at the dispatch board and long nights listening to calls or working with technicians in the evenings, working with salespeople. That's really what it came down to. My wife wasn't happy about it at that time. I'm at the point now where I leave my briefcase at the door when I walk in the door and pick it up in the morning on the way out because I've got great people around me that can handle it. That's one thing that I'm sure a lot of business owners and GMs wish they could do. But I rarely find myself, unless there's a crisis or an emergency, picking up my computer in the evening. I dedicate that time to family or golf. I do like to golf. My wife would tell me you like to golf. So I should mention it. But that's where we're at today. And, the plans for the future is just to take this ship to the next level. Right.
Nice. Well, I've got an area that I want to go down, and it kind of lends into what we were talking about before we got going. And you mentioned in here is you guys didn't have a strong management team. You guys didn't have a strong infrastructure when you came on with 70, 80 people. Now you're at 240. What are some of the steps or the things that you've done along the way to be able to really create that management team and allow yourself at the end of the day to truly disconnect from the business?
The biggest thing that happened over time was, when I say we didn't have strong management, we just didn't have managers. We had a service team and we had a service leader or a maintenance leader. They were more, your chief firefighter.
Right.
You guys have probably heard that term from other people, but how many problems can I solve today? And tomorrow there's going to be a new host of problems. What I found the success from the people we have around us now is when you have someone sitting in front of you. We talk about A players a lot at Action Furnace. Don't sit on them. Don't think about it. Hire them. Right? Find a spot for them. Create a spot. Right? Half of the jobs that we have for our other leaders weren't positions 2 years ago. We created them. We found a space. When you get good people, they pay for themselves, right? They bring things that, they teach me. We're all learning, right? So that's really sitting down and, through acquisitions, we've brought on a couple people that have been good assets to us. But really you're sitting there, you're meeting a guy, you're talking with a guy, there's an opportunity there. It's an exciting opportunity at Action Furnace. Don't wait,
right?
Because someone else will pick them up, right? Maybe your competitor, maybe somebody else, right? They may leave the industry, and it's really about good people management, right? I find a lot of people take their best technician and turn them into a manager. We've made that, we've done that before. It works sometimes, but when you get a strong people manager, someone that's managed more than just 2 or 3 people, you need strong people management. It's really important to have someone that understands the bigger picture. And also, for me, I felt like I was the only one rowing the boat. Right. And as you started to accumulate better people around you, now the boat's going a little faster. Now the boat's going a little faster. I was just talking about it in an advisory board meeting this morning we just had what we felt like was one of our slowest months ever in January. And we beat last year by $1 million. And it felt sleepy around here, right? And that's the crazy thing to think is, I remember the times where we did our first $2 million month, and it was grinding out 2 installs in a day, everybody working Saturdays. And now it's $3.5 or $4 million, and you're sitting there thinking, how can we be busier, right? It becomes almost easier as you get bigger.
Well, especially when you have the right things in place to be able to allow for that growth. Evan, did you want to?
I was just going to say it speaks to the efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. That ability to get more done with less is super powerful. And I know Billy's talked about that numerous times on the show and what he's been able to do down at Billy Go. But now where I was curious on is on the recruiting side, when it comes to finding A players, where is it that you're looking for them? How are you finding them? What kind of conversations are you having? Are these green people that are new to the industry? Are they experienced people that have been around for a long time? Who is it that you're looking for?
For most of our leaders, 2 of our leaders have started in our business as CSRs.
Nice.
They took an interest in the business, right? Very similar to what I did, right? I had no dream of being an HVAC general manager or owner of a business, but I took an interest. And then it became more interesting, right? It's a business that has 8 different businesses in it, right? There's a fleet business, there's a call center business, there's a marketing business, there's all these different businesses, and every part of it needs work on all the time. And that was the interesting part to me, that, okay, I can have an influence here, and I can have an influence there, and I can have an influence there, and really change people's lives, right? Especially at the technician level, you change a guy's life, his career path, when they start making more money, when they're happier. Right. But yeah, for recruiting, on the recruiting side, I talk to everybody, no matter where I go. My wife thinks a bit of a lunatic. I use people's first names everywhere. Just looking for good people, whether it be sitting at Mr. Lube, getting an oil change and the person really impresses you. It's like, man, maybe you should think about a career change. Right. And you find those people through just contacts, right? Especially in the HVAC industry. You could have a guy on another company that has a poor leadership team, and the company doesn't have a vision. People want to be somewhere where they know where they're going. Right. And that's something that I always try to convey to our team is, where are we going? This is where we're going. And this is how we're going to get there. And that's one of the problems that, I would say, I've admitted to myself and looked in the mirror over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think my business partners would say the same, is we never really explained how to get there. We knew where we wanted to go. We knew how to get there, but we didn't share that how to get there with anybody else. Right. So it's what I've been doing for the last 3-4 weeks, is training my team on, look, I'm not going to no longer hand a supervisor keys to a truck and say, these are the metrics you need to hit. without telling them, these are the steps you need to take to get there.
Right.
Right. The metrics aren't important if you don't follow the steps to get there. Every step, it's like the basketball player that says, follow, trust the process.
Yep.
That's what we need to know how to get there. Right.
So, I mean, you mentioned know where we're going and getting total team buy-in, and like looking around the space in the office. And so I'm glad we're here. I mean, 240 employees. Obviously, they're not a lot of people are in the field. It seems like a really great culture and strong around here. When you guys know as leaders where you're going, but your team doesn't know where you're going, how are you best communicating that to them?
Well, when we were in the spot where we knew where we were going, there was chaos. I mean, it was, if you don't tell them why, they don't know, right? Why are we doing that? Why are we making these changes? One of our core values is embrace change, because it literally changes around here daily. So be ready for it. Make the most of it, right? And oftentimes that's where, when we talk about core values, that's the one where people don't make it. They're not a fit, is because they didn't embrace change, right? And that's okay. Totally okay. If you want to go work at a company that just never think everything's the same, right? We're still using paper. We're still, on call overnight. Sure. If that's okay with you, that's okay with me. Not a fit, right? And we identify that early. I mean, we do 90-day review check-ins with all of our people. We do people analyzers every 90 days. We follow our RPRS system, GWC, get it, want it, have the capacity to do it with every person. They all know that's how they're being identified or evaluated. And to me, it's you identify the people that aren't a fit really quickly. Right.
You mentioned EOS, and I know when Bruce was in here, he said a lot of people say, yeah, I read the book Traction. I talked about EOS, but they never talk about on podcasts specifically, what do you guys do for EOS? How does it work? How does it operate? How do you guys implement it into your business? And I know you were showing us your guys' software beforehand. So walk us through, that EOS, the GWC, get it, want it, capacity, all those other aspects you mentioned, your quarterly reviews. Walk us through how you guys have utilized EOS. And for those that are listening, EOS is the Entrepreneur's Operating System, book called Traction. I can't remember the guy's name.
Gino Wickman.
Gino Wickman. There we go. Walk us through how you guys do that in your business, and how do you get total team buy-in with it as well?
So yeah, it was obviously a struggle at first. Me and Bruce were the only ones on board, and we slowly got everybody else on board, but we went through, probably interviewed 3 or 4 implementers to find the right fit for us. And we found a guy out of Vernon, BC, that he incorporated strategy into it, because it's all great to have L10 meetings. It's great to have your quarterly reviews, and it's great to have your annual review. But if you don't have a reason to do it, right, it just doesn't work. So what we've done is we started with just our leadership team, and we probably ran just with our leadership team on the EOS system for about a year and a half. We rolled out the accountability chart. We rolled out our core values. We did our quarterly town halls. We did an annual muster, all those things that you're supposed to do through this system. And then we started to roll it down to our supervisors, what most people call managers, but supervisors at Action Furnace. And you started to see, okay, now we're showing them where the ship's going, right? This is our BHAG, right? This is what we want to be. We want to be $100 million company, $1 million in recurring revenue a month, and a company that's built to last with 15% net profit. That's our BHAG. And then it ties into our 3-year objectives, right? How we get to our 5 years, we handle our 3-year objectives, which ties into our 1-year objectives, and then rolls down into our quarterly rocks. So our quarterly rocks are the stepping stones to hit our 1-year objectives, and we review it every year and come up with new objectives and write them all down. Then we come up with rocks for each quarter. The nice thing is when we implemented it into the departments, you started hearing the language around the office. Everybody's talking about it. I need some time to work on my rocks. I need to take care of this. Can you help me? And they're helping each other, right? Like someone in the company is an expert at something, right? So that was awesome to see. You hear people talking about core values, right? You hear supervisors that, 6 months ago didn't know what RPRS mean, saying we have a guy that's the right person, but he's in the wrong seat. You also start to see, you start to identify emerging leaders, right? Because the succession plan is everybody wants to have is who's the next guy up? Who's the next girl up? Who's going to take that role, right? As we grow, there's going to be new positions created. How do you fill those positions? And that's one of the big things we've noticed is we start to see these people that come out of the woodwork. They start to become leaders, right? And you see the guys that buy in and you see the guys that don't buy in with EOS. It's very quickly to see who's helping you get to where you want to go.
Right.
And that's, I mean, with the software we have, it makes it super easy. Like I said, it's more about the strategy, right, to get there than just hold an L10 meeting, right? Yeah, we tried L10 meetings and they worked. And once we put the strategy in, it was like, okay, this is why we're having these meetings, right? And an L10 meeting is the big issues. It's not the firefighting. It's not the one-off job. And what do we do in this? We should change a whole process for that. It's big items that we handle at our department L10s, which we do bi-weekly, and then our leadership L10 that we do weekly. So it's been a game changer for us in the last 2 years. As people have bought in, you've seen employees in the company even start to buy in. They get it. You know, the GWC, we've gone over how they're evaluated, right? Get it, want it. It's non-negotiable.
Right.
If you don't get the job and you don't want the job,
we'll find somebody else that gets it and wants it, right?
Exactly.
It's that simple. Yeah.
You don't have the capacity. Well, maybe it's a training thing. Maybe we need someone to add to your department.
Yep.
Right. And then the core values, we do a plus, minus, or a minus thing. And, you know, one of our core values is integrity. And minus on that is 90 days to exit. That's the plan.
Right. Yep.
Right. You can't have more than 2 minuses. And we understand people aren't going to have a great week, a great month, a great quarter. That's okay. But you just better not have 2 minuses, because that's what we look for, is who's on our team, who's going in the right direction with us.
Well, and you mentioned something there that you can have minus. It's okay. Right. Everybody has their own shit. Like the shit that's going on in your life, the shit that's going on in your life, the shit that's going on in my life. You know, anybody around here has shit going on, and sometimes that does affect them in the office, and you
Absolutely.
try not to let it happen. And so having that compassionate heart is a big thing to be able to add into it. So sorry, inside joke. That was one of our old core values from our old business that we were in, is a compassionate heart.
Yeah.
You mentioned something, and I'm curious to know, Evan, did you have any other questions on EOS? Because I'm going into another direction here.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of an impact that made in terms of the growth of the business. You went from 98 employees into 2017 to now 240. You're operating in 3 different cities. How much of an impact has that had on your ability to manage all of that, manage all of those people, and where do you think you would be without it in terms of the business now?
Well, we started the EOS in 2020, right? When COVID started. So most of the stuff was online for the first little while. We weren't meeting in person. And I mean, like other HVAC businesses, everybody kind of grew during COVID because people were around their houses. But what we noticed was what it helped me personally was it wasn't all on me anymore as the owner and the general manager. We had the right people. We had a leadership team. You know, for the longest time, it was myself and our office operations manager. That was the biggest thing for me for the growth. It's accountability, right? This is what we said we're going to do, or did we do it? Right. It's the 90-day review check-ins. It's not waiting the year to have the conversation. And the only thing you talk about is what happened 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I recommend 90-day check-ins for anybody that has a company, because it's, you know, you do an annual performance review. It's usually recency bias, and that's all you're talking about, or they pissed you off last week, right? Where for us, it's 90 days. We do the people analyzer. We look at the metrics. We look at their personal goals, their financial goals, what they want to do, how they're going to get there. Hopefully we give them a roadmap to get there, and it's up to them to follow it.
Right. Nice. I'm glad you mentioned that stuff, because I was actually going to ask, what's the format of the 90-day check-in? How long does it last?
A 90-day check-in is typically, 15 to 30 minutes. It's fairly quickly. It's a simple, it's a template. We just did our annual checkup. So every 4th one, you do an annual checkup, and you go through a keep, start, stop doing system where, what should the company keep doing? What should the company start doing? What should the company stop doing? Everybody fills it out. We get a bunch of feedback. We do that at our quarterly reviews as a leadership team, but now we've asked 240 people to do it. So we're getting a lot of feedback now in terms of what should we do? What do people like? What do people don't like? And then you do the employee, and then you do the leader. They evaluate their leader.
Right.
What do you want from me? Right. And oftentimes I get I need more FaceTime, right? I need you to put your phone down when you're in a meeting with me. That's my challenges that I need to work on, right? Because it's coming at me from all different angles. Sometimes that's hard. And it's conscious.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Oh, yeah, you guys can't hear it. I hit the "that's what she said" on the soundboard.
Yeah. Consciously though, it makes a big difference now. When I'm sitting with someone that I remember in the 30 days ago telling me that they need me to be more present in a conversation, I try to do that. Right. So it brings that stuff up more often. So yeah, that's a big part of the 90-day check-ins. The annual checkups are 45 minutes. Usually we try to say they should be off site, not sitting in your office, right? Somewhere that's neutral, that's comfortable for both people. It's not always doable though.
Go to somewhere else in the office too. If you instead of your office or their office, boardroom, or go somewhere random in the office. Right. So I'm curious because so I like the part that they give you feedback on things that you as a leader can do better for them, which is a key part of that conversation. I'm curious though, what's one thing that the company has stopped doing as a result of these 90-day check-ins?
Well, that's a good question.
I'm the smartest man alive.
Yeah.
There's a soundboard for that, but
we've talked about one of the things we're focused on now is the RPRS, take it a little more serious. If someone's not a fit, let's make the decision right away.
Real quick, what does it stand for?
Yeah, right.
What does it stand for someone that doesn't know? RPRS.
Oh, right person, right seat, right? And then you have that right person, right seat is someone that lives the core values and gets it once and has the capacity. Yeah. And then it's, you have a right person WS, which would be wrong seat. They live the core values, but they don't get their job. Maybe, right. And then you have WPWS, which is wrong person, don't live the core values and don't get their job and want it and have the capacity to do it. So what we found we've been not very good at over the years, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, is you hang on to people too long, right? When you let someone go, you probably should have let them go 6 months ago, a year ago. What did it do to your culture? How much did it cost you, right? It's the fear of, oh my God, I need to replace them. What am I going to do? And oftentimes when we have let people go in that scenario, you realize it's for the best, right? There was no loss. It sucks for about 36 hours when you think about it, and then you move on, right? And oftentimes those people thank you because you made the right decision for them, right? They were just stuck in a place, and you were stuck in a place with them, and it didn't work out, and that was the big thing. So that's the one thing we're trying to do is to be a little bit more, slow to hire and quick to fire kind of thing. And it's just, we set the expectations when you get hired. Do you fit the culture? Do you want to have the capacity? And, can you do your job, right? Do you care to be here, right? We don't need people to be working all hours of the night. We don't need people to be working lots of overtime. We don't need, we don't even have on call for our technicians. Our technicians work a shift and then they go home. And we don't expect anything more, but at least when you're here, this is how we do things.
Right. The thing I love about that is you're living your core values as a leadership team now by embracing change. Right. With the start, stop, keep. And that's something that we've talked about numerous times in our organization. And actually, I'm sure Mallory's even giggling at this because everything that you just talked about is exactly what we're doing with clients now. When we're running our quarterly calls with them and we're running our annual calls with them, and she's asking them, what can I hold you accountable to as a client to make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do? Because most people aren't asking them that. As the owner, you're sitting there, and especially if you don't have a business partner, you're all alone at the top.
Yeah. And we went through, we had core values for a long time. Right. And we finally said, okay, like nobody's living them. What are they? Right. They weren't on the wall. They weren't in our trucks. They weren't in our, training handbooks. Right. What are they? Right?
You did it because you were told to do it by some guru somewhere.
We were told to do it by some HR consultant and said, you guys should have core values, but didn't really explain what it meant. I couldn't even tell you what our old core values are. Right. And now every meeting starts with a core value conversation, right? I was watching a service meeting this morning, and one of the culture builders in the service meeting was what one of our core values resonates with you. Right. And we talk about it. It's a constant conversation. The nice thing with having a leadership team is they're all on board, right? It's not the one owner at the top. And that was the struggle is I like core values and I thought they're important, but I didn't have anybody marching to my drum saying this is what we should do. Right.
Yep.
And the big thing with the EOS side of it, which ties it all together, is, you quickly will find out how strong your leaders are, right? Do you have the right leaders? Because you'll have guys in an L10 and leave, and they're talking about, the idea with a leadership team is they're a united front,
right?
Everything, we're going to disagree and we're going to yell and scream in this meeting. When we leave, we're all together, right? No matter how we feel. I mean, me and my business partner, we argue in a lot of our L10s, but we leave on the same page, right? We don't leave the meeting without being on the same page.
Well, and I mean, that's also it's healthy debate, right? Like you need to come up with ideas to continue to grow the business. And some of them are going to be shit because Evan comes up with a ton of ideas and I tell him that's stupid. Generally how that goes. But it's also healthy, right? Because in order to be able to push back and challenge an idea, you can poke holes in it. And if you can't poke holes in it, then maybe it's a good idea, right? Cool. Random question generator.
Let's do it.
All right. So random question generator is brought to you by On Purpose Media, your local HVAC marketing experts. onpurposemedia.ca. In case you want to book a call. If your marketing sucks, call us.
We'll hold you accountable.
We'll hold you accountable, and we'll have a start, stop, keep conversation once a quarter, and monthly meetups too. That's the big thing, honesty and transparency with us. So onpurposemedia.ca is who we are. All right. I have 3 questions here. You're going to choose question 1, 2, or 3, and I'm going to read it off, and you're going to answer it
as best as I can.
All right. Which question do you want
2.
to go with? Question 2. If you could teach your pet to say one thing, what would it be?
I love you more than mom.
Must be a dog. Must be a dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 dogs, and they are attached at the hip to my wife, and I just wish they loved me a little more. So if they could say one thing, that's what I want them to say.
Nice. That's hilarious. I think I would want to do the same with my dog too. Because it's funny. Our dog always, because my wife and I both work from home. When we used to share an office, like a room in our house, we shared it. The dog would always lay under her desk. Even when she's gone, we'll lay under her desk, never under my desk, but always lays on my side of the bed when we're not in bed, but still now goes and lies up on her desk. Doesn't really come in my office very often unless she wants something.
Yeah. My wife took a week off work to harness that motherly love with our dogs when we got them. And that was the crutch. I should have stayed home too.
Some about that early attention,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just like kids.
Just like kids.
All right. The question that I wanted to ask, and you mentioned it ever so casually in your guys' BHAG of 1 million in monthly recurring revenue. And I wanted to unpack that a little bit because when we think, I think I already know where we're going on it, but when we think HVAC businesses, a lot of people don't think monthly recurring revenue because of service calls and installs, right? It's like a one and done until we see when your system breaks down again, right? So walk us through what you mean by 1 million in monthly recurring revenue.
So it's our service agreements is really where I'm going with it. And I know there's been lots of talk in the industry about memberships and all the points fair. And but for us, when I joined as a partner in 2017, we had, I think, just over 1,500 memberships, which for the size of company, I knew it's not enough. And I knew, especially in Canada here, we have a lot of companies offering a lease program. When they lease equipment, what happens is you lose that customer. They're gone. They're no longer, you don't need to market to them because that company's taking care of them no matter what. A lot of people aren't happy with the lease program, but I just figured, what's the way we can get the most customers, right? The company with the most customers is going to win the game at the end of the day. So I started talking about memberships at every meeting. I increased the pay. We pay our guys to sell them. We pay our team to on the anniversary. We don't do yearlies. We do monthlies only. All the memberships are perpetual, right? It's like a gym membership. Right? It continually rolls over. We have office staff that, we have one girl that sold 130 in a month.
Wow.
Right. It's an incentive for them to make more money. It's a no-brainer when it comes to the cost of, a duct cleaning versus what you pay for a yearly basis for a duct cleaning and tune-up. And I just started talking about it. And sometimes it was like even funny how often I talked about it at meetings because I believed in them. I was like, guys, Do you want a seasonal business? I don't want a seasonal business. And we took our business from being what is commonly a seasonal business. You know, you have the shoulder seasons, and I hear, you know, I look at all the Facebook groups and they talk about the shoulder seasons, and we don't have many. You know, we might have a 2-week shoulder season, right? Depending on the weather here in Alberta. And that was the big thing. And we kind of grew it. We got to 4,000 or 5,000 pretty quickly. And then we got to 10,000. My business partner, Bruce, promised us a cake at 5,000, 10,000, and 15,000. We're still waiting on the cake.
Going to be a double cake party.
Yeah. But we acquired Direct Energy here in Alberta, the home services side of their business, in January, and added 7,000 memberships there. So we're at, I think, just over 23,000 now. Wow. We've got, you know, what it does is provide entry level into the company. Right. You're just creating more jobs for people. And you find a lot of good people through having 50 or 60 maintenance technicians, right? Everybody struggles to find experienced service techs. How do you find experienced service techs? I see it on the group chats all the time. I'm like, I don't look for them. Right. That's how I find them. I make my own, right? Because some of our best service techs are maintenance techs that got in on the entry level, bought into our program, follow our process. And the process for maintenance service isn't much different, right? And then they grow, right? And they get it. They know there's a career progression. They see the path, right? Yep. So that, I mean, the membership side is the recurring revenue it's what turns a okay month into a good month into a great month, and a great month into like a holy shit, I can't believe we did that much, right? Yep. And that's the big thing. It's cash flow, right? A nice
predictable cash flow.
Predictable cash flow, right? Managing them has become a challenge, right? We didn't have a manager of our membership department. We didn't think that was needed at any time. And now we have a membership department of 4 staff. They handle the phone calls, they handle the billing, they do the scheduling. We try not to call 23,000. We used to call everybody. Now we're going to text, voice messages, whatever you need to do to get these people booked in. The other thing is, there's a certain time of year where all our businesses can take on new customers, right? Everybody calls for a duct cleaning in August, September, October, November, right before winter. What we've done is turn that into a blackout period. We try to get all of our members done from January to July. So if we can get them all done there, marketing can go crazy, bringing in new customers, right? New customers leads to, new installs,
more memberships,
right? More memberships, right? So we can replenish our memberships, continue add. We do staffing projections on a monthly basis. I'm always looking 12 months out. What do we need? Like my directors of our operations know how many people they need for the next 12 months. We know what our revenue expectation is. We know how many leads we're going to set. We know how many memberships we're going to sell, right? When a girl sells 100 in the office, I mean, we need to hire 2 people, right, to run those maintenance calls for the next year. Yep. Right. So it continually grows our maintenance department, which feeds our service department and our install department with employees, which is the biggest part. Is the challenge of finding people these days is you just got to make your own. Right? Yep.
Bring them in green, train them from the ground up, right? Curious on bringing in people that are green or from the ground up. Do you have any, so SAIT, Southern Alberta Technical Institute here, NATE, Northern Alberta Technical Institute, or Institute of Technology, sorry. I'm getting it wrong. Do you guys have any partnerships with some of your local trade schools to help bring in people that are, let's say, in their first year of getting their ticket?
Pre-employment program. So they do a pre-employment program at SAIT. What they do is when the graduation day, the day before graduation, they come and do a tour of our building. We're trying to coordinate our hiring and training schedule along with their graduation dates, so that when, hey, you need a job, we're hiring next week.
Yeah.
Right.
We just happen to be having a hiring blitz.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
But the relationship, we pay for our guys to all go through school. Yep. So the challenge we face is there's a journeyman to apprentice ratio you need to have. Right. Well, when we're bringing on all those green people, we're bringing people into the trade. They can't accommodate how many people we need to send to school.
Right.
Right. We try to send, maximum 4 per department kind of thing in each city. Sometimes you can't. They don't have room. We said, look, if you just had a class for first years, we could fill an entire class. Right. Right. It's the partnership. I wouldn't call it a partnership, but I think we could build a stronger relationship with them for sure. Sure. I mean, we send our team that goes to school there on a recruiting mission to bring back other gas fitters and refrigeration mechanics for sure.
Question on memberships came in from automated comment, picture of a dog. It's actually not an automated comment. It is a person.
Yeah.
I love their comments and their questions on here. So the question that they asked, well, it's not really a question. I'm going to turn it into a question. Yes, please. Membership customer. Every time you guys come for a maintenance, you try to sell me something. Walk us through that, because I think there is a misconception out there that you're always trying to sell something or upsell or whatever. So how do you guys navigate that component of your memberships?
Well, we follow a process. Like our call center, there's scripting. It's a set process. We don't, our training is not around selling more stuff for more money. It's providing solutions for customers, right? We find a lot of homeowners don't, they'll mention things as we go through the house and follow our process that my technicians have been trained to offer a solution for.
Right.
They're not trained to go sell stuff for more money. We're not the duct cleaning company that's selling the gold filters that block up, after a month and nobody's happy with them. And then we go and change them out. We just provide you, hey, you mentioned it was dry. Your humidifier is all clogged up. Maybe it's something you need to do, right? We do a lot more on our maintenances than a lot of other people. We do a camera inspection, a combustion analysis on every call we go to. So we find more stuff, right? And that's really the reality is we've trained our technicians to be more educated, right? Like I even find some of the education they get from the colleges doesn't relate to their job. So we train them on how to have conversations with homeowners. Now, does a technician always follow the process and the script? No, we know that's not the case, right? But it's not to sell stuff for more money. It's to provide solutions, right? If you go out and you make 3 customers happy, I'm just as happy as if you go and sell 3 things, right? That's really what it comes down to for us. It's not, okay, what did you sell today? What did you sell today? It's, did you make customers happy and did you provide solutions for something that they may need? We don't, I even said it in my training this morning. Some guy said, how many estimates should I leave for a customer? Said as many as needed, sometimes 0, sometimes 1, sometimes 2. But if they mention their indoor air quality and you walk around their house and they have indoor air quality, individual products in every room, maybe they need a whole home solution, right? So I always say, what's the worst a customer can say if you are trying to find a solution to their problem is no, that's okay. Right. So there's not a hard sales tactic here. It's follow a process, follow a script, go through the process. And at the end, if you've done your job, right, it's about spending time with the homeowner, building that value. You'll get there.
Right. At the end of the day, like if you think about it this way, and I relate it back to when we sold knives, right? Like we had an ultimate set. It was like $3,800 and it had every knife in it that you could possibly need in your kitchen. It was fantastic. I have one at home now.
Did you win a Cadillac when you?
No, that's Mary Kay.
Pick one. Hey, Mallory.
Yeah. But not everyone needed that. No. But it was the complete solution, right? When you think of the home, there's a complete solution. There is a perfect package. And the odds that a homeowner has that in their house right now is very small, let alone the fact that theirs is actually functioning the way that it should, even if they did have that, right? So there's always a solution that you can provide. There's always something that you can offer them that makes sense that they can then make a buying decision on.
And some people don't want to be told that. That's okay, right? I am a sucker for a good salesman, right? I'm a salesperson, right? I'm a sucker for, like, if someone starts using my first name, right? Oh, you got me, right? Music to your ears. But if someone someone starts,
he got very deep and close to that mic there.
If someone starts talking, to me about, going to buy a car, and the guys we're sitting in his office and he's talking to me about buying all the features and benefits of the motor and the transmission or whatever he's talking about. That's no interest in me. Right. I want my car to go from A to B. And I never want to come in and bring it in because it breaks down. Right. That's what it's important to me. Show me the cool features. Show me the Apple CarPlay and the cooling seats after a hot day on the golf course. That's what I care about. Right. That's and show me it. I want to see it. So we teach our guys to show customers, right? Like, you got to present options. We have a price book. But there's no expectation for a sale or it's right. And again, like I said, I find they're doing a disservice to the customer if they don't do it.
1,000%.
right? Because what happens oftentimes is the next guy goes out there when something's broken down or something's not right, and they say, why didn't the last guy mention it?
Right.
Right.
Well, the other part too is like here in Alberta, it gets fucking cold. And if you're doing the membership and you're tuning up a furnace and you want to point out things that you might think will break soon, right? Yeah. Because now it could be minus 30 Celsius in the middle of the night and your furnace goes out and you didn't present them the option to fix that one part that broke, like,
because you didn't want to sell them.
Because you didn't want to sell them. Now you're doing a disservice to the customer even further because now they're without heat and minus 30 in the middle of the night, right? It's, I mean, a little bit different if it's an air conditioner. You can deal with the heat a little bit, go to your basement. But when your furnace goes out and it's that cold, now you got to get that shit fixed and fixed quick.
But in Vegas or Phoenix or anywhere in the Sun Belt, right? Like that's not an option there. No. It's,
No, and a lot of technicians have bias, right?
100%. Yeah.
And that's something we try to teach is you can't have bias. What you think, right? It's like a cheap salesman will never sell anything, right? But a bias is, telling a customer what you think.
Yes.
No, let's just provide the information and options and let them decide.
Yep.
Well, it's your value, right? Like I think back to Cutco, right? When we were teaching Cutco training, like it was what, $1169 for a homemaker deluxe. I think it was actually $1,400 for the homemaker deluxe.
Yep.
But either way, when I was 19, 20 years old, 21 years old, thinking about a $1,200 set of knives, $1,400 set of knives, like hard no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, fuck off, not paying that. But then when we framed it in a different way, when we were in a training class, and this was 2005, so CDs were still a thing, right? That, okay, how many people have a CD collection? And, people's hands would go up. All right, how many CDs do you have? And people are like, well, I got, 100 CDs. They're great. How much did each CD cost? Well, $20. Great. You got $2,000 worth of CDs. Would you see the value? And then you ask them, would you see the value in that? They're like, no. Then it was DVDs, right? You have the conversation. Like I had a friend that had
Columbia House, the subscription DVDs that came to your house,
right? And like my friend had, I think my friend had 250, 300 DVDs at like $20 a pop.
Yeah.
Right. That was a big collection for him. I mean, now they're all obsolete because everything's on Netflix. But for him, he put value into that because that was important to him. Absolutely. I thought he was crazy because I'm like, why do you need so many DVDs? Right. I'll just go to Blockbuster and rent one. Before Blockbuster went belly up. So it's your value too that you place on your own intrinsic needs too.
Yeah, it's the value perception, right? Everybody's value is different. We don't know one customer from the next to say, okay, that person, doesn't want to be shown these options, even though they may need it, right? For me, I always talk about it. It's like I've got a golf shoe problem,
right?
I own 13 pairs of golf shoes. People would be like, well, why would you own 13 pairs of golf shoes? Well, because I have probably 13 different outfits.
I was going to say, they match a different outfit.
Right? It's funny. You've got 13 pairs of golf shoes and mine are in desperate need of replacement. They look like Evan's shoes that he has on today.
But that's what value to me.
Right?
You think spending, $300 a pair on golf shoes would be outrageous, but to me, that's what I care about. Right.
And it's your own intrinsic value.
It's the same thing with the homeowners, with, furnace replacements, right? We're not out there to sell you a furnace replacement. If it's unsafe, we need to educate you and inform you. But if we don't tell you, the result's worse.
Right.
Yep.
Right. We have to inform you. And we've trained our techs to do that through a process that they should follow. Right. When we get bad reviews, when we get, upset customers that call in, it always pinpoints to one area.
Right.
Process. Didn't follow it. And I know that. Ma'am, I'm sorry, he didn't follow the process. She didn't follow the process. Right. That is not what we've trained. That's not the style that we've approached. But you get that, right? When you have 120 people out on the road, you're going to have that happen from time to time.
Yep. So how do you manage that then? How are you managing the processes to make sure that they're following through as best as possible?
We do a lot of coaching and ride-alongs. Our supervisors give a weekly coaching program to our directors.
Nice.
What they're going to work on with individuals, right? Some guy doesn't sell memberships. We send a coach out and he's got a plan too. The coaching schedule goes from our director to our dispatch team. Dispatch team makes sure the right calls are on them so they have the opportunities to coach on that opportunity. And he may be doing one thing wrong. Right. He may not be introducing it at the beginning. He introduces it at the end, right? Something very simple, right? It's like when I was a sales guy, when I struggled, it was back to the basics, right? It was back to what do I need to do? What do I like? Oh, I've been going down in the mechanical room right away, and I've been trying to sell a customer in the mechanical room. I didn't go to the kitchen table. I didn't build a rapport. I didn't go outside and show them how the venting's going to look. I didn't show them where the air can, like, I just was lazy. I was complacent, right? And that happens in service, maintenance, install for sure. And everybody in our company, we have a written out process of this is what we need to follow for our customers. And we're all about, customer experience. We want to be the best at customer experience. So how we manage it is continual ride-alongs. I mean, we get customer feedback, right? Google reviews is a good way to manage that. Are you doing your job, right? If you look at our Google reviews online, it's very thorough process, right? Spent a lot of time, professional. You see the similar words over and over again. Right. That technician is following a system, right? And oftentimes, when we're a full commission-based company, piece pay they get paid for what they do. You find that the guys that spend the most time with the homeowners, provide the most value, earn the most income, right? And I know there's a lot of companies that pay their guys hourly and are afraid to go to this piece pay system. And it's, we changed 8-9 years ago. And it really shows you who is following a system, who's not, right? They're not just going out, sitting in the basement for 3 hours to get their hours. They're actually going out and doing what you've taught them to do.
Yep. I wrote down nothing fails like success. Right. And I know as a comfort advisor myself, when I was selling, like that was a big thing where, especially with podcasts now, the ability to learn new things, hear new things, and try and implement them all into your sales presentation all at once. You go to a training seminar, you hear another great line, you add that into, and you end up getting and deviating so far from that process, what you were taught originally. You need to go back to those basics constantly.
Yep.
And revisit that because it's simple and it works.
Yeah,
so
I did
to use the hockey term, starts and stops.
Right.
I did it this morning with 14 of our maintenance guys. We were in the boardroom, and I was just going over what I call my non-negotiable conversation in terms of, showing up on time.
Right.
I put 8 things on living our core values, wearing your uniform, being safe, having safety is an important thing. And I said, is this too much to ask? Like, this is the expected. Following the process is also one of our non-negotiables, right? Doing the proper heat exchanger presentation, doing the proper intro and thermostat questions, and all the things that we do. That's all we're asking you to do. Right. Now, someone that's great with customers is going to do better. Right. And that's where coaches and trainers need to come in and be like, okay, well, we need to help you get there. Right. When I used to ride along with technicians, I would have him do the first call, and I'd evaluate him, and then I do the second call and evaluate me. Right. Maybe I'm screwing something up, but maybe he hears 1 or 2 things that he really likes and he implements it, and that's a game changer for him. Right. And I tell our coaches and trainers to do that now. I say, if he's not good at the intro, you do the intro, and he can watch you do it. But if he's really good at providing information options, let him do that. Right. And vice versa. Like, that's how you coach and train in the field. Right. But I know a lot of guys go on technician ride-alongs and sit there and chit-chat.
Right.
No, it's a coaching opportunity. Every employee wants to have a purpose when they come to work. Right? They want to be better. Right. Nobody's, Bruce and I have been working on a management and coaching plan for our team. And, one of the things we talk about is they don't work for a paycheck anymore. They work for a purpose. Right.
Paycheck's a byproduct of the purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. They want to feel, different things are important than they were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. They want to feel important. They want to feel recognized, right? And it's something that, everybody probably hears it when they do an employment engagement survey, is there's not enough recognition. So that also needs coaching. How do you give recognition? When do you give recognition, right? I do, I've done something over the last 4 or 5 years where I try to call 3 employees a week. Just talk. I'm not talking about their job. So what's going on, right? And just engage in a conversation. Let them know I'm still the guy I was 5 years ago, right? What do you think we're doing good? What do you think we're not doing good? And it's worked, right? You get on a different relationship. If you come in the morning, I've got guys that chirping me about my shoes, right? I like that relationship with them. It's a fun relationship with them. And they know when I'm being serious, and they know when to have fun with me. That's what I really like about our culture here, is that everybody's having fun, right? I think there's a picture. I wore jorts on a day off to the office one day, and some of the girls photoshopped a picture of me wearing jorts at a time where I had frosted tips and I had a double popped collar. That picture is around the office somewhere, but that's funny, right? That's something that it's something that's hanging on an office desk somewhere downstairs, and we laugh about it every time I go in and chat with them, right? That's the relationship we have.
Aaron Carter over here.
Exactly. So it's a fun relationship, but it's like we also have these expectations. You got to do your job properly, right? We're here. We're not a charity.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and like all of this stuff, guys, like when we're like the people that are listening right now, like you mentioned customer experience, and we've had a few guests recently that have been on this customer experience kicks, and it's going to be the new battleground. Like customer experience is going to trump all. Nobody cares how much you know until you know how much you care.
That's actually on one of our training slides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. But that's it, right? Is like, if you care about your people are going to care about your customers. And when they care about your customers are going to be happy. They're going to turn into raving fans. They're going to do the ascension ladder into raving fans. And they're going to amplify your marketing message even further by telling everybody about Action Furnace, right? And it's a key distinguishing factor between companies that are really good at what they do and companies that aren't.
Yeah. And most importantly the most important customers are your internal customers, right? Your employees. If your employees are happy, your customers will be happy.
Right.
Well, people, product, price, and the people starts with your internal people. And I say this like I swear every single show. It's almost as equivalent of Evan and Tony Robbins. Your people are your employees, and then your customers, right? And in that order, and then your product, and then your pricing.
Yep. No, it's you have to take care of your people, right?
Yep.
And there's you see the byproduct of it when it works.
Yep.
When people are happy, right? And when you have 240 people, you're not gonna make everybody happy, right? But there's a change, like I said, one of our core values is embrace change. So we're gonna change shit.
Right.
It's gonna happen, right? Could happen this Thursday after our leadership meeting. Who knows what happens, right? But embrace it. We're looking out for everybody's best interest. We want you to win. We want the customer to win, and we want the company to win. That's what we're hoping for at the end of the day. Right. We're not doing this to make your life harder or pay you less. We just all need to win. And there might be a different route than we're currently doing, right? Because things that worked when you had 70 people don't work at 200 people, right? And things that worked at 30 people don't work at 70 people. So
I want to get into a little bit of a marketing conversation. Where are you at?
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it.
Because some of the shit that you guys have done has been remarkable. It's disruptive in a way that it's old school versus new school with some of the stuff that you do. You've ingrained in the minds of many your brand slogan, which is incredibly difficult to do in today's day and age, incredibly expensive to do in today's day and age. But you've done a fantastic job of that. And the way that you've also positioned yourself online, utilizing Google Ads and some of the stuff you talked about earlier with the mapping and even some of the stuff that you see now in Service Titan, which kind of came back from you. And if you want to tell that story, please do, because I'm always down for that. But your approach, I guess one, talking about budget, because that's a question that we get often this time of year, like what should my marketing budget be in order to hit my goals? And then two, walking through some of the different things that you're doing right now to separate yourself in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think, well, for budget, when we were in true growth mode, we were 12 to 15%.
Wow.
We scaled it back, obviously, over COVID and a year prior to COVID to about seven or 8. And the reason for that was, and what we've seen now that the 2 years it usually takes a few years to really kick in the brand. But what we saw this year is we just redid a whole big budget and we went back up a little bit. Obviously, there's a little more money to spend now, which makes it easier. But we need to get back to that branding, get our name out there, right? Because we've seen it in our markets for ever that one guy pops up, spends a lot of money, disappears. Right. We did that. We held the growth. We cut back. And then all of a sudden we said, okay, well, I always look at percent of customers we always look at new customers. It's one of our metrics we look at. How many new customers did we bring in this week? Right. right? Because new customers are good for the business, right? We know, 50 to 60% of our active jobs that are being ran are club members. Well, if that was 40, that means we brought on new customers, new opportunities. But yeah, we try to keep it around 7%. Forget, you asked like 5 questions there.
The main two was the budget.
The budget, yeah. So
let's just put, I just want to drop this number in here. So your guys' goal for this year is 50 million, and at 7% is 3.5 million in marketing. Like that scares a lot of people, but like I just want people to understand that when you want to grow your business, you need to invest in marketing, and you need to actually pony up. Don't be a cheap motherfucker. Spend the money on marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, we set our budget at 9 million for the next 2 years. And then we did a budget, and we told our marketing guy that we had to cut a little bit, which is fine. He's prepared for it. He knows where levers he can pull to pull back. But we set it. We did a 2-year plan. We made some investment in some new TV commercials. Digital's always been strong. If we look at anything, it's okay. Brand is out there. Recognition is online, right? You see a bus bench. I think we have 700 or 800 of them.
I was going to ask how many you had and what percentage.
I don't know the exact number.
You and Tanya Eklund in Calgary have all the bus benches.
But we have, we're starting to take over. We've got, if a bus bench comes up, it's offered. Right. Because we have so many of them, and we just try to get them into the neighborhoods, right? We have
how many in Red Deer? Because this is my favorite.
Yeah, I think we have 80 bus benches in Red Deer, and I think I don't know the actual number, but they might have 82 total bus benches. But
so those 2 bus benches that are not action furnace are premium real estate.
Yeah. So I mean, we're new there. We made an acquisition there. We just tried to get into the market, and we're just going to flood it with marketing, right? The smaller companies that are there just don't have the budget to do that.
Correct.
We know we have to spend money. That's something that's never been an issue. It's actually been fun, right? When you can spend $3.5 million and look at all the things, and you've got people taking you to hockey games and wanting your business. I mean, that's exciting stuff. I don't really care for it that much, but they come in, they know what you want. You tell them what you want. They put a presentation together. You're like, yeah, that sounds great, right? It's within budget. Well, let's do it, right? It's pretty quick. It's not a matter of who you do business with, what radio station you're on. You just got to be on somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Me and my business partner, Bruce, are data nerds, right? When it comes to, we used to look at frequency and all this stuff that, we had a guy come in and analyze it. And it's like, eventually it's like, does it really matter? We just need to be somewhere. Right. Super important just to be somewhere. You got to be somewhere. We went the bus bench route and the digital route. We've done billboards. But yeah, we put a budget together. Hopefully we can hold it, but we can always cut back.
Right. I love that. And I want to re-emphasize, does it really matter in terms of the numbers in marketing? And I've long been a proponent of this, even before the digital world, when we came from the print world, is that at the end of the day, it's where do you want to spend your money? You got to actually spend it somewhere. And it's like a swim lane philosophy of marketing. Some people, okay, well, I'm going to put, this much money in this advertising channel, this much money in this one, this much money in this one, this much money in number 4. And I'm going to project my growth to be, $1 million from those 4 ones, right? And then they total up at the end of the year and they only hit 750,000. You're like, well, what the fuck? I projected $1 million. Well, guess what? One advertising medium assists the other, which assists the other, which assists the first one. And now it's the end goal of what you have in mind. And I know the proof of this because I live here, and I've lived here, while you guys have been going on your bus bench tirade, and I drove all over the city, and the bus benches were everywhere. You hear it on the radio. I think when we met in Vegas, you're like, yeah, action furnace. I'm like, yeah, fixed right here. It's free guarantee. And you're like, that's us, right? Because it's everywhere. It's memorable, and you're nonstop relentless with it, which those old school guerrilla type things lend into your digital world.
It has to tie in.
Yes.
Yeah. And the biggest, one thing that we don't care. Like, I don't buy a bus bench outside my house so I see it every day. I know a lot of contractors, they'll advertise at hockey games or football games, and
just that ego trip.
Well, they want to see themselves,
right?
They want to know that their advertising is where they are, right? We've never cared about that. It's just, we got to be somewhere, right? Because our customers are all over the place.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, right? I look at it as, husband or wife gets a phone call, furnace isn't working. They get in their car, radio's on, Action Furnace. They see the bus bench down the street from their house, get it home, Google, show up first.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that name sounds familiar from somewhere. I wonder where.
Yeah. It's like a magician, right? You go to a magician show and they put all these clues around and then something happens and they guess the number you were all thinking. And it's like, well, they've been showing you that number for the last 3 hours before you even got into the show. You get it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
No, that's sleight of hand.
what was the other question?
I'm going to go a different route anyways, because I forget too.
It was good conversation. That's what it was.
Let me ask you this. Let's say your partners decide to separate from you. They take the business, they buy you out, they kick you out. You have to start over tomorrow. What are you doing to launch your new company?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Good
Evan
question.
finally with a zinger.
What kind of company am I going to run?
I don't know.
An HVAC company?
I'd imagine so. That's what you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, to speak
And let's
to-
face it, there's a little bit of vengeance that's probably there too. Like you want to get back at them.
to give them a little poke, I would probably start with documenting standard operating procedures a lot earlier than when you're at 150 people.
Recommended. Okay.
Recommended. I mean, I strongly believe in the best practice groups: Profit Rocket, Service Roundtable, Airtime 500, Nextstar. Any of those. Like, if people aren't on those, we've been part of one or all of them at some point. And what we constantly hear, I mean, I went to a conference, I won't say which one, but you still talk to people and I still hear the same things.
Right.
That won't work in my market, right? Oh, people won't pay that price. It works.
Yep.
I mean, someone smarter than us came up with what we're doing. It works, right? That's why it's called a best practice group. We live and die by it, right? That's how Bruce and Gaius, my business partners, grew this business from a one truck duct cleaning that they bought for 50 grand off a guy. We live and die by it, right? Like we live and die by the process that were developed by someone that had done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would do. What kind of business? I mean, the duct cleaning business is just there for the taking in our markets, right? It would be, honestly, I think if my business partners bought me out, they'd be in trouble. But no, I think a duct cleaning, they do it. I would probably follow exactly what they've done.
Right.
Start with a duct cleaning business, then get into the service business, then get into the install business because it worked.
Right.
Why would I try to start something new? They had a formula that worked. Follow the best practice group. You learn as you go. I would document processes from the beginning and start doing some things that we didn't do earlier. But I mean, I always give Bruce a hard time about that, right? Like, thanks for handing me an empty book. This is great. But
That's why he's the visionary, right?
He's the visionary for sure. Yeah.
But success leaves clues, right? And why reinvent the wheel if something's already been invented for you? You just have to follow, copy, and duplicate, and put your own little stamp on it, your own little twist, right? Like the culture, your core values, your own uniqueness towards it.
Absolutely.
Everything else is there. So,
Well, it allows you to compress decades into days.
yes,
Absolutely.
yeah. I know we're coming up. We're actually past the top of the hour. I'm sure we could keep this conversation going. I do want to get into one last topic before we wrap it up. You're here in Calgary. You're in Edmonton. Edmonton is a 3-hour drive up the QE2. You just entered in Red Deer. It's the pit stop right in between those two cities.
That's where you stop for McDonald's, get some gas,
right?
take a dump,
there
and
you go.
leave.
and then leave. Nobody really wants to spend a lot of time in Red Deer. Sorry for anybody that lives in Red Deer.
Except for the people that work for us.
Except for the people. Red Deer is actually not a bad city. I don't mind it. It's a great city. So I like those smaller cities, like 70,000 population. They're fun. So, but in terms of managing and navigating and having an office here, having I'm assuming what's probably a drop ship center in Red Deer, an office in Edmonton. How do you manage the complexities of having 3 cities that are 3 hours apart?
It's been a challenge for sure. I know in 2012, I mean, I went and lived there The company rented a condo and I lived there and sold furnaces and air conditioners and managed and helped the team there. But it's a challenge. It's always a challenge. Communication's a challenge. Meetings are a challenge. We have one leadership member up there in Edmonton, and doing it over Zoom or Teams is always a challenge to, I've been in Edmonton on the leadership meeting and your voice isn't really heard that much, right? You're trying to speak through a microphone and that's a challenge. You have to have strong leadership. When we acquired Direct Energy, we got a strong leader up there who's been in the business his entire life. He gets what it takes to run a HVAC business. We've never segmented it off to, okay, this is Edmonton, this is Red Deer. It's try to keep it all, like if we're doing a process, we might pilot it here, we might pilot it there, and see if it works. But yeah, it's definitely one of the challenges is, having a strong leadership team there. But we've done things through the EOS when we do our quarterly reviews, they come down. Right. I try to go up there once a month, if I can, or once every 2 months. Our other team members go up as well. HR, the training team will go up there. But it's our second day of our quarterly reviews is called a leader building day. So we bring every leader together, right? And we work on, conflict resolution and other tools that they could use with their teams. We set our rocks, our objectives for the year when we do our yearly. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if someone has a secret to how to do it better. I would love to know, but it's always a challenge because it's, when everybody's here, you kind of feel left on an island out there. And that is something that can, even the employees feel sometimes that they're on an island and it's like, oh, we didn't know that. Well, we've been doing it in Calgary for 3 weeks, right? That's something we need to be better at for sure. It's something that's always a challenge. And, you see it in businesses and, other competing businesses that, their head office is in Edmonton and their satellite office is in Calgary and they have the same problems vice versa. Right. That was the nice thing with the acquisition with Direct Energy was their head office was in Edmonton. Their satellite office was in Calgary. So we had, it was a perfect mix, right? It was a perfect mix of, okay, they had a leadership team and management there and we could kind of come together and what was good for us here was bad for them. And what was good for them there was bad for them. You know what I mean? Right. So that was a challenge. It's always a challenge. I mean, when you have multiple locations, you have to have good management.
Yep. No, 100%. So, well, if you have a solution for Ryan, we will shamelessly plug our guest and you can reach out to him at ryan@actionfurnace.ca. Of course, you want to check out their website, actionfurnace.ca there, or hit them up on the Facebooks, facebook.com/A Furnace Calgary. Action Furnace must have been taken on Facebook.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe I put a typo when I filled out your survey.
Maybe.
I think I just copied it from the URL there. There you go.
Well, we'll find out. So if it doesn't work, sorry. Google them. Action Furnace Facebook. There we go. Evan, final question?
Final question. What is one question, Ryan, that you wish people would ask you more, but they don't?
Oh, one question they'd ask me more,
but don't.
You could have told me this before we started.
I could have. You could have watched an episode because we do ask it at the end of every episode.
I did watch episodes.
Not to the end, clearly.
One question people ask me.
Wish they ask you more, but don't.
Wow. Business? You're talking business.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. Could be personal too.
Oh, man. You got
what to look for in a good golf shoe.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a question for sure. I just wish there was, more people ask, what it takes to get to the next level, right? I see everybody hopes they want to get to the next level. What does it actually mean, right? I mean, I talk about it in training, and it's like, yeah, how much money do you want to make next year? Oh, 100. Well, how are you going to get there? I don't know, right? Like, okay, well, let's talk about that, right? Right. What is it going to take to get to the next level? Like, I wish more people asked me that, like employees, outside of work as well, right? I may not have the answer, but maybe we can work on this together, kind of thing, right? Like, I like that. I like, hey, you tell me you want to be better at something. Okay, well, we're friends or we're coworkers. How do I help you? Right. So, I mean, that would be the one thing. It's like, I wish more people, because everybody's thinking it and everybody wants it. but what does it take to get there?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know, but maybe we'll try this, or maybe we'll do this. That would be the one thing that I wish, people in our business ask more. And then you got to look in the mirror and say, did I do it? Did you do the work? Right? Can you get there? Right? I mean, some people, like, if you told me you want to be a great golfer and you literally have no athletic ability, I'm going to be honest with you. Right.
Yeah.
Right. If he wants to be the next Connor McDavid, he can't skate. Sorry, man. Like, right.
Tripping over my own laces.
Yeah. But I mean, that would be on the spot. That would be the first thing. It's kind of top of mind because I talked about it with my employees this morning.
Right.
But yeah, it's, I see eyes open up when I bring this up with them, and it's, what do you guys just hope you make more money? Are you waiting for me? Like, no, like, it's on you guys. Right. So,
well, let me ask you this. How do you reverse engineer a goal?
I mean, it's kind of very similar to our EOS process. It's the what are the steps to get there? Right. I'm a sports guy. I'm a golfer. People ask me why I take lessons. I'm a plus 1.5 handicap. Why do you still take lessons? You're already good at golf. Well, because I want to get better. Right. Like, the best, everybody's always learning. I mean, we listen to Ed Milet and Andy Elliott. Those guys are pushing the limits of themselves. Right. And I just finished The Power of One More, and it's
Great
the one,
book.
it's the one more thinker. It's, it's the convenience versus inconvenience, right? Which is, what I literally read last week on vacation. And are you willing to do it? Right? You have to be willing to do it. Right. So it's the process. It's doing the inconvenient stuff is really what it comes down to.
Right. Well, and I find that's often the thing that gets in the way of most people hitting the goal is not being willing to actually do it. They're not really committed. And you mentioned this earlier too. Like, most people are interested in success. It's a preference for them. I would prefer to stop smoking.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But they never quit because it's a preference. It's not a deep-rooted desire. It's not a want.
Yeah.
Well, their why isn't strong enough either.
Exactly.
You talk about that, like The Power of One More. He talked extensively about that. Is okay. Well, do you want to do something? Great. Well, are you motivated to actually do it? And motivation is kind of a farce. But like, do you have the perseverance to be able to actually change it?
Yeah.
And why are you wanting to change it? If you're not actually changing your circumstances, chances are the reason that you're wanting to do it just isn't, I know that's not good enough. That's why you're not changing it, right? Find something that you can buy into that drives you to actually want to make those changes.
Yeah. What got you here is not going to get you there, kind of thing, right? I jumped on the treadmill last night proudly for the first time in 2 months with a weighted vest on, walked 30 minutes. My legs were killing me.
I was about to say, how the legs feeling today? How are the stairs?
they were fine, but it's like, I look at it personally. I mean, I'll be open and honest here. It's like, do I want to lose 20 pounds? Yeah, I'd love to. Have I really made the effort? No.
Right.
I still have 6 to 8 IPAs on a Friday night and then eat Harvey's or Wendy's on Saturday morning. Like, but to do it, I know I'm going to have to make some sacrifice. I'm going to have to make a change because I just can't keep doing that. Right. I want to feel healthy. I want to be around for my kids when they're older. Right. I want to feel better after a round of golf or a hockey with, friends. Yep. This is what I want to do. And now I got to ask my question, am I going to hit the treadmill tonight? Well, no, you've already got me on the loggers. So
put an IPA up there and just drink your beer while you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it comes down to the person, right? Right. Yep. Do you want to, how serious are you about it?
Right. Love it.
Are you interested or are you committed?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interested or committed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything sounds great. I'm interested in a lot of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd love to run an Ironman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys look awesome.
Yeah. Right. Never going to happen. Fuck that. What are you reading?
Jason Julian's hilarious. One of our clients, he says, you might cut off. No, it didn't. So I wish more people would ask me about my awesome HVAC Secrets Revealed hat. But you say, Jason, you don't have an HVAC Success Secrets Revealed hat. Yes. No wonder they don't ask me about that.
I call him a dick, but he's too nice of a guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He is a great guy. So, Ryan, this has been an absolute pleasure, an absolute treat. I really love the in-person vibe of the podcast, and especially a longer one. I know when we did them in person in Vegas and then Phoenix at the Women in HVACR, they were like mini episodes. So it was good to sit down and have a great, in-person conversation for a change in the show. But the knowledge I think that you dropped on the show was absolutely phenomenal. Mallory actually dropped it in our Google chat with each other. We don't use Slack. We use Google Chat in Google Spaces, but she said he's giving away all the secrets. Hence the name of the show, HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to allow us into tour your facility and to sit down and talk shop with you guys. Excited for your guys' growth, excited for your guys' BHAG when you hit it. Was that your 5-year?
Yeah, so we're 3 years out now.
3 years out now. So excited for that BHAG for the day that you hit it. Hopefully Bruce will actually buy you guys a cake.
I hope
so. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, thanks guys. It was awesome having you guys in here. I haven't seen you since Vegas. I know we've chatted over text, but this was awesome to have you guys in here.
Yeah,
Perfect.
It was fun. Thanks, Ryan.
No worries. And until next time,
cheers.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.